Hello, BillWhittle.com members. I'm Scott Ott with Stephen Green and Bill Whittle himself. And this is, gentlemen, do you ever come off election week feeling like you have like blue wave lag or something? I just feel
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. It's funny you mentioned that. That's really well said.
It is. There is a sense of it's not like malaise, but like a weariness, fatigue. It's chronic
Election
Democrat fatigue syndrome.
Well, once again they're recounting in Florida, and they'll keep recounting until the Democrats up by one vote. At which point we'll have had all the votes in, and then we can relax.
Yeah.
But losing Arizona, man,
that hurt. And
it's not just the Senate vote. It's like to lose. Yeah, to lose to an absolute communist, and have an A-10 driver go down to a communist, in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, you expect to lose A-10 pilots, say, over the Fulda Gap to a communist. You don't expect it to happen in Arizona. No,
you don't, and
There's
it's
our
very
Cold War
alarming.
joke for the night.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, and we can't get enough of Cold War jokes on this program. I'll be honest with you, I cannot want to follow the recount news. I just I can't.
No, I won't. I'm not going to do it either.
You're not even
and
trying.
I can't want to. I won't. I won't do it. I won't.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that McSally had won on election night. Now it turns out that one may have actually been that she actually genuinely lost.
Yeah, it may be.
She conceded. But this recount in Florida is just.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that on my segment this week, if you don't mind.
Oh. Just even after I said I can't want to, you're going to make me want to have to?
Said, well, Scott, I hadn't quite decided until you said that. And now that you have...
Well, I appreciate that. And to return the favor, I think I'm going to make you have the members-only episode this week and make you talk about that right now.
Ooh, well, I think you know what we're doing for members.
I can't imagine.
Me, Larry.
Cannot imagine.
Oh, yes, it's going to be Lightning Round XXL. Whatever number we're on, I don't know.
That is not XXL. That's like 40, isn't it? Isn't it?
No, it's
30.
XXL's 25.
What is that? No.
Whatever number we're 15. On.
It might be XL. I think it's XL.
Whatever number
XL's
we're on,
whoever takes those,
whoever takes those lightning photos is getting a bonus this year from API or whoever.
I'm a little concerned about a lightning shortage. What happens if, because of climate change, we have fewer lightning storms or more of them? Either fewer and there's no pictures, or more of them so that they're so severe that people can't go outside and take pictures, and then Bill is going to be in a jam.
It's a serious problem.
It might either lower or raise the temperature, each of which is catastrophic, and
just can't.
Our only answer is to shut down the economy and just pray for the rain gods to come back.
So Stephen Green, for the rookie newbies who are tuning in, the new members at BillWhittle.com, can you explain to them the general rules and the official dogma of this lightning round concept?
The lightning round concept is a very simple one. I have artisanally selected, handcrafted headlines for each of you. 3 each, I believe, this week. It's a good odd number. And then, of course, final one for myself as host of the show. And the reason why I like the lightning round is, well, there's a lot less preparation work on my part. I just collect some headlines over the course of the week and throw them out at you. But it also lets us get into some topics that aren't worth a whole show, but are interesting or fun or serious or maybe all of those things, but don't require a full segment, and it lets us breeze through a lot of stories in a short amount of time. And I know you guys like to complain, but I also know we have a lot of fun with them.
These are stories, folks, so just so you understand what Steve's talking about, because he uses that complicated erudite language of his. These are stories, like, remember the 1970s Happy Talk news format? And at the end of the local newscast, they'd always have the story where they say, Ling Ling the panda gave birth this week at the Washington Zoo. Because the only reason they did that story is not because you care about Ling Ling, but because they had another 37 seconds to fill, and they had to put something in there. Well, this is like a show that's completely made up of that kind of filler.
I think you're a little too generous, but thank you.
Okay, so...
hang on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, clearly we can't put that out in the public, so we're going to have to reserve that for the members only.
Members only. Yeah, it's a little too personal, I think, for
it's too dangerous
masses.
For the public. Lightning avoidance is not their specialty.
Yeah, really, and we have a reputation to protect.
And Bill, you reminded me of something for the election fraud. I don't necessarily want to get into the details of what's going on in Florida, Georgia, what might have happened in Arizona. We just don't know. But I would like to talk about. I want to use that as a springboard for making our elections better, because there's this. You guys still read Powerline? Blog's been around forever.
Yeah, sure.
From time to time, yes.
Yeah. John Hinderaker had what might have been the nicest take on what's going on in Broward County, Florida. He said, "I don't think we can say with certainty that election officials in Broward and Palm Beach counties are trying to steal the Florida Senate and gubernatorial elections for the Democrats, but we can certainly say that they are keeping their options open."
These are, I get it, the sense that the election officials in Broward County are like the people who go to Walmart and they get a bunch of stuff and they go out and they pay for everything, and then they're out in the parking lot and they realize the dog food is on the bottom rack and it just hasn't been paid for yet. It's not that they were intentionally trying to steal dog food, but it's then they're in, at that point they're in the parking lot, and who's going to go back and pay for dog food, you know?
Yeah, so really
an honest person would, and an honest, Yeah, the idea that oops, I forgot the dog food is like when they bury the dog food under there, they cover it up.
Yeah, they're like squirrels.
Yeah,
they've got
just going to recount
and
recount and recount. It's exactly what happened with Gore. I was just watching that whole thing, and it was like, we're going to recount. Nope. Bush is still ahead. We got to recount again. Bush is still ahead. Bush is now it's only 1,000 votes. Now it's only 500 votes. We're going to keep recounting until Al Gore has one or two more votes than George Bush, at which time all the votes will have been counted, and we can proceed with our Democratic president, Democratic Party president, the way that that the country needs so desperately.
Well, you got to admire the fighting spirit of the Democrats, who basically say it ain't over till we win.
Yeah, it ain't over till we win. That's right.
By any means, fair or foul.
You know what? Actually, their motto, Scott, is "It ain't over."
It ain't never over.
It ain't over ever. It ain't over.
Here's the thing. I keep wanting to write a column about this, or maybe do a right angle segment on it someday. So maybe I just kind of plant this idea out there. But conservatism and libertarianism have limiting principles, whether it's traditional values or the Constitution, or our belief in human liberties. And so we have these limiting principles on what we are allowed to do or say to advance our cause, and even limiting principles on our causes ourselves. Leftism dispenses with all that, and so there's not a single limiting principle in how far they can take things. And it's a hell of a weapon.
I was just thinking about this the other day. I forget what spawned the thought in my mind, but I was listening to something, and it occurred to me that if you take the U.S. Constitution and you try to apply the U.S. Constitution to today, it means that, in effect, you have to determine what the words mean. Now, language changes over time. I mean, the word awesome in the mid-1800s used to mean something different than awesome means today. And so there are other words like that have changed. So the only way that you could actually figure out what the Constitution means is by trying to determine the original intent of the framers of the Constitution.
This is Scalia's method.
Yes. Yeah. So if you go back and try to determine the original intent, then you have these constitutionalist conservatives who believe that those words actually mean something. If, however, you're some sort of deconstructionist who says the meaning of words is only determined by the immediate context of those words being applied today, then therefore the meaning of the Constitution can never be determined. It cannot be determined in a large sense in the aggregate of we all agree that the Constitution means this, and it can't be determined for any individual either. And so if that's the case, then what indeed is the Constitution when you're from the left other than a blank canvas upon which you may paint?
I got to tell you, I've said this a few times. I just really think that I just like this description because I really think this is what they think. They think the Constitution is a piece of Americana suitable for framing, like Washington crossing the Delaware, that could be put in the Capitol Rotunda where no one will see it. That's what they think. That's what they actually think. And if the Constitution, if words don't have meaning, or if you want to pretend that words don't have meaning, then the law has no meaning. And if the law has no meaning, they can do whatever they want. And there's the key to understanding the entire enterprise. Has the word infringe changed, particularly since 1783? I'm not aware that it has.
I wore a jacket in the 70s that had some infringement. But other than that, I don't know. And here's the thing, though. The people on the left are more than willing to argue the Constitution with you, like it means something. But in effect, they can't do that. They've already abdicated meaning when it comes to words. And so what they're really doing is they are arguing for whatever it is they currently believe, and they're using the Constitution as kind of a foil, as a tool in the course of that argument. But it really doesn't matter what the Constitution says. What matters is what's the zeitgeist of society now, or what do I personally believe?
Yeah, they're cloaking their argument in the majesty of the Constitution, even as they completely ignore it and trample it into the dust. They're very good at these kind of things.
Yes.
And I know I've talked to a lot of people since the election too. It's just, watching these recounts and stuff is just, it's not a sense of despair about having lost an election. It's a sense of despair about watching people cheating in front of your eyes on the highest level and nobody doing anything.
Yeah.
Nobody doing anything.
And Jeb Bush, what's her name, who runs Broward County, the election commission, was appointed by Jeb Bush in 2003, a Democrat, mind you.
To show how nice we are.
Yes, and she has run for re-election as a Democrat, I think, 4 times now. She votes as a Democrat. She says she's a Democrat. Andrea Mitchell on NBC or MSNBC, I can't tell them apart anymore, called her, well, not really a Democrat. She's a Republican. And Andrea Mitchell gets to get away with this stuff.
Well, and by the way, Jeb Bush today smacked down that Broward County official on Twitter and said she should be fired.
Yeah.
Should be fired. And I want to know...
Where were you in 2004, Jeb?
Look, here's the thing. When they corrupted the Justice Department, this is when I look back on the entire Obama-Clinton strategy. If you corrupt the Justice Department, if you can own the FBI, but especially the Attorney General, then you can get away with anything. You can literally get away with anything. You can break the laws in front of people on camera, commit multiple felonies, and the Attorney General's office just simply declines to prosecute. If you own the Attorney General's office, you own the government. And so I have been absolutely mystified why Trump has waited this long with Jeff Sessions, who I am not aware did a single thing. This other guy, former Marine guy, he's like, you need a guy who's gonna bang some heads. He's gonna and the reason I bring this up in this context is I want the Attorney General of the United States to investigate what's going on in Florida with this recounting, because if it's another one of these Minnesota things where it's like the race is precisely 50-50 and we found a box full of 100 ballots and every single one of them is for what's
Saddam
his name?
Hussein.
Al Franken.
No,
Yep.
yeah, Al Franken. Oh. Everyone. Isn't that strange? I asked a statistician about this. What is the chance in a 50-50 election that you find a box of 100 votes and every one of them is for the same candidate? He said the chance is 0. There are so many zeros before the one. It's 35 zeros before. It's 0. The chance is 0. It's 0. So what do you say?
Well,
what do you say?
I guess what I want to say is, Steve, I can't remember at all what you said your topic was for this week.
We're going to talk about how to make our elections better going forward. And maybe this is idealism on my part. Democracy is inherently messy. But I have to believe in my heart, watching these shenanigans year after year, election after election, and often in the exact same places, and in the case of Broward County, the exact same people time and again, that there has to be a better way. And even if we're blowing into the wind here, I think we need to talk about it. We need to get these ideas out there. Well,
the problem with democracy is those darn demos. They're causing all the problems. So I will give Bill Whittle a couple more minutes of unadulterated joy. So by going first here and suggesting my topic for this week, and this I want to go with something happy. And oddly enough, I find that happy thing by watching some clips of this past weekend's episode of Saturday Night Live. I don't watch the show on TV because it's on after my bedtime and because it's Saturday Night Live, but occasionally I like to make sure I know what's going on in the culture. So I will review these things and in desperate hopes that I'll get a laugh. In this case, there was an episode on Weekend Update where they had Pete Davidson, who's a Saturday Night Live actor, who last week made some remarks about a Texas House candidate named Lieutenant Commander Dan Crenshaw, who's a Navy SEAL who lost an eye to an IED on his third tour in Afghanistan. And Pete Davidson said kind of insulting things about him during this segment where he just makes fun of pictures of people. And so he comes back this past week, Davidson does, and apologizes for it. And then they bring in Lieutenant Commander Dan Crenshaw.
And Congressman-elect.
Yes, exactly. And he comes in and accepts the apology, takes them up on an opportunity to make a couple of sharp and funny remarks about Pete Davidson, and then makes this profound statement about the United States as a place where people can forgive each other and how we can move on and what kind of country we really are. And I'm telling you, gentlemen, it's one of the best things I've seen on TV actually, I don't remember having seen any great things on TV before, but this is one of the best things.
Wait, including Aftermash?
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought, where is this in our civil discourse? And I thought, who would have thought Saturday Night Live would be the place where we would see some genuine contrition, repentance, forgiveness, and a sense of redemption. And I'm holding back at least one detail here about it for the actual recording of the episode in case you haven't seen it yet. But I was just really stirred by the whole thing. Did you guys see it at all? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I didn't see it. I did read about it on Sunday or Monday, and I thought, wow, that was just a class act on both their parts.
Yeah, so the question is, did he apologize because he caught so much flack and so many letters, or did he apologize because this guy wrote him? I don't think he just suddenly woke up one day, the next day, and said, you know what, I was a little hard on that guy. Something happened.
I think what might have driven it was Crenshaw is the Congressman-elect's last name, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, when the whole thing broke a week and a half ago, Bill, but before the election, on Monday or Tuesday of last week, Crenshaw said, something to the effect of, it's not that big a deal. We all say things we regret. And showed, even before the apology, that he was a big man, a guy with a lot of class, yeah. And I think that, more than anything, would have forced the hand of SNL, or maybe he had a genuine moment. Who knows?
Yeah, but you're assuming that they have a sense of conscience and honor and so on, and I'm not convinced of that.
No, neither am
I think I would like to know what happened behind the scenes in order to get this apology. It's possible, I suppose, that all I'm saying is this. The guy who could make remarks like that didn't wake up the next day and, as I say, said, I was hard on him. I shouldn't be that hard on him. He's a veteran. It wasn't like a sudden moral dawn. Something happened, and I'm sure he changed his mind, which is great, and the apology's great, and I'm not taking anything away from that. But, I want to know what the string of events were in that particular case, because...
Well, and that you're probably never going to get. I know Lorne Michaels directly contacted Crenshaw or his campaign and sought to get him on the show. So Lorne Michaels, the executive producer for the last 7,000 years of Saturday Night Live, and there's a connection there that I thought was fascinating. But I almost don't care because I know in the times.
No, I understand. I get that.
You know what I'm saying? Because frankly, I wish I were a lot more willing and ready to apologize when I screw up too. And I wish I would do so without being shamed into it. I mean, there are times when kind of the spirit of Jesus awakens me to the fact that I've done something wrong and I feel that I need to apologize to someone. But there are other times when I'm just kind of caught red-handed and I'm like, you know what, man, I look like a jerk here. I don't like looking like a jerk.
I get that call. Too. I get that call sometimes too, and I usually just send it right to voicemail. I really do. I'm serious.
It's like Jesus,
you should be better than this. You should be better than this. And now I'm at the point when it's like, I don't know. I don't see equivalent evil here. And if I did, if somebody would point out to me where Republicans are cheating and Republicans are filling the roles with people who don't happen to be alive, where Republicans simply refuse to accept the result of an election and keep recounting until the Republican wins. And we go on and on and on. If I thought this was even close to 50-50, I'd be a lot more contrite, but I'm not. And so I let that one go to voicemail, and I should take that call because it's actually not just good for the country, it's good for me, good for everybody, good for everything.
Well, see, the difference between the two of us is that Jesus knows me well enough to never say the phrase, "Scott, you're better than this." So
does he know you well enough to text before calling?
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's a courtesy that the Lord has always observed. Crenshaw, by the way, Stephen, those remarks that he made before, previously to the election, basically said that his only problem with the remarks on Saturday Night Live that Pete Davidson had originally made was that they weren't funny. It's like supposed to be a comedy show and it wasn't funny. And then when he shows up, I shouldn't say exactly what he said. I don't think I'm going to say exactly what he said. But basically, Pete Davidson is talking, and Crenshaw's not there, and he's talking, and he says that basically the entire country has found out that I'm a jerk, but he doesn't use the word jerk. And at that point, Crenshaw slides into the frame on his rolling office chair and says, "You think?"
Nice.
Look, I don't want to be too hard on him. That was a good thing for Davidson to do, and it took some courage, and I suppose I shouldn't be so hard on that.
Well, in any case, I think that there's something to be said for civil dialogue, and it doesn't happen in the neat little constructs of panel discussions that we stage at George Washington University, for the after writing a white paper. I mean, it happens in the culture sometimes, and my view is, instead of smacking down Saturday Night Live, I think I'd like to celebrate them when they do something right.
Yeah, you want to encourage more of that.
Yes, exactly.
We should have more civil debate in this country. Instead, we've got civil debate in this country. We got a bunch of lunatics screaming at each other, and no one's connecting to anything.
Well, not only do we need more civil debate,
70s reference of the day.
Not only do we need more civil debate, but anybody who doesn't agree is literally worse than Hitler.
Literally.
That's right. The first one was my reference to Happy Talk, 1970s Happy Talk.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of Happy Talk, Bill Whittle, always chipper Bill Whittle, is also going to be hosting an episode of Right Angle this week. So, Bill, what would you like to talk about this week?
I think I'd like to talk about our glorious future. A fair amount of it will be about the election stuff, but I saw a story of why can I not ever remember her name? I will do it. Maria Conchita Alonso is something Cortez.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
So she's going into her office, and there are a number of people out there protesting Nancy Pelosi. So far, so good. But they're protesting her because their energy policy is not aggressive enough.
Yeah, it's a climate change thing.
And Ms. Cortez says we have to be on 100% renewable energy in 10 years. There's simply no other option. Now, I don't have a problem with her. What am I trying to say here? I have a problem with somebody who understands so little about the consequences of that. There is absolutely, I mean, if you were to take renewable energy to the limits, you'd get 7 or 8% of our energy needs. And this person is voting. And when I say voting, I don't mean they're voting for her. She's voting. She's one of 535 people that live in a democracy. The rest of us live in a republic. She lives in a democracy. There's 535 people that get to vote. And if you look at the faces in this photograph of these students, they're just.
Well, you know what?
You can just see like the light coming in from the ears. It's really, really, really alarming.
Bill, you said that the key word, maybe I should save this for the segment, so I'll just give a short version of it. The key word you said there was the consequences of what she's demanding. And this is a person who now holds high elected office who has lived a consequence-free life. She went to a very nice high school that her parents paid for. She went to a prestigious university, got an impressive-sounding degree without actually having learned very much. She got an unimportant job as a bartender that she used to get enough local fame to propel herself into Congress. This is a woman of whom very little has been asked and even less has been required. And, of course, she doesn't understand consequences.
She would have been a superb running mate for Barack Obama if she'd been old enough. And so in addition to this, we also get, a communist defeating an A-10 pilot in Arizona. And see, this also just ties into something else I want to cover. I don't remember her name. I'm just inclined not to. I'm sure I'll have to write it down. Arizona.
Kirsten Sinema.
Yes, thank you. So here she is, this hardcore lefty, and she's got this hardcore lefty background as this kind of hippie protester. And when you see her in the campaign, she looks like she just walked out of Better Homes and Gardens. There is not a more conservative look. Her hair is so conservative. Her dress is so conservative. Makeup is so conservative, so conservative, so conservative. And I just come back to this idea of, why do you have to pretend to be us in order to get elected? We don't pretend to be you in order to get elected. And
we should try that sometime. We should get a real conservative candidate and dress him up with like dreadlocks and hemp sandals. And
John Cox, for example, would be great. Be automatically in. But look, finally, I was reading this quote, and obviously you can tell how well prepared I am. I just read it this morning. It's from, what's this, one of these new sites? It's not Vox, but it was something like that. And the guy was talking about the midterms and 2020 and stuff, and he listed all the reasons why it's going to be bad for Republicans. But he listed one thing that just froze the blood in my veins, and he said, every single demographic in this country is working against the Republicans. Every single one of them. And demographics is destiny. We've been watching this in Europe. You can't continue to have ever and ever greater numbers of people into Sweden who are not Swedes, who don't understand Sweden, don't want to understand Sweden, and still have it be Sweden. And if we don't get in front of this demographics thing, it's just a matter of time.
Now, Bill, I don't think you're being fair. My understanding is the GOP has launched a major initiative and is really making some headway among those over age 85 with a terminal illness. I think that they are bringing in.
So if they're going up, so they're going after over 85, which means they're trying to they've got an appeal for the youth branch of the of the party. Yeah.
Well, it's like I keep saying, we lost California, but we traded that for West Virginia.
Two things you made me think of. Number one is Miss Ocasio-Cortez. Is a bartender. And Bill, if nobody else, I mean, you have frequently made the plea that we would be better off in this country if we staffed Congress with people chosen at random from the phone book or people who have ordinary trades.
At all. None with her being a bartender. I like the fact that she's a bartender. I just wish she had been an educated bartender or have had some idea. But no, I'm not saying she should never have been elected. I think absolutely she should have been elected.
Well, and then the other thing is when she was protesting climate change.
Yeah, she's not the problem. The problem is the expression of these people in the room, her followers. It's just this vacant kind of, geez, socialism, she must be great. These people, they can't find America on a globe. And they can't tell you who was in World War II. They can't tell you who the first people to land on the moon were or whether or not that happened before or after the Civil War. They can't tell you anything. They can't tell you who the city of Washington was named after and why. I'm not joking. I've seen this guy doing the interviews on the streets in Santa Monica. And of all I've got to remember his name. He's great. But he's interviewing all these Americans. Why is Washington? Who was the city of Who is the city of Washington named after? And no one could answer him. No one. Now, obviously, he's editing this, but the only people that could answer the question it's named after the George Washington, the general who won the American Revolution and was first president of the United States for 2 terms. These couple were from Italy.
Oh,
is that Jesse Waters from Fox News? Is that who's doing that?
I don't know. I don't know if he's from Fox News. He didn't look like he was from Fox News. But anyway, this is, if you want to control the government, own the Justice Department. And if you want to make people stupid enough to vote for these policies because they these policies have no past because there's no past about them ever taught. Then own the education system.
Well, here's the other point I wanted to make was that you may have some complaints about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's proposals with regard to the United States switching to 100% renewable energy. But I don't think you can trifle with her argument for the perpetual motion machine that she's proposed.
Well,
Impossible.
Here's the thing about her, and I'm convinced about this. I know you guys think I'm being flip, but I'm quite convinced after having listened to some of the things she said that if I were to go in there and tell her, Congresswoman, this is an electrical generator. It generates electricity, and the output of the electricity goes to this power bar, and we plug the generator into the power bar. And it just keeps going.
Keeps going. Forever and
She wouldn't be able to tell you why that was not be the case.
Electricity is a cycle, is it not?
It's a megahertz cycle.
Scott, I think something got lost in transmission there.
It's actually the megahertz donut that they referred to it as.
Right. We're going to create magnetic fields to move electrons, and then we're going to use electrons to move magnetic fields. And I don't think she understands that. I don't expect that so much as I genuinely think if you went to her and said, have you thought about this? I don't think anybody's ever thought about this. Have you ever realized you have an electric generator and it starts producing power and then you plug into that and off you go?
It's awesome. And I mean awesome in the 1800 sense of the word. Ladies and gentlemen,
she's the kind of person who believes that if you have to paint the house faster because otherwise you'll run out of paint.
Wait a minute. Now you do have, if you run faster, you can avoid the raindrops, right? I mean, we can agree on that.
No, that's science. Yeah, you just gotta dodge and weave a little.
I think you would reach a speed where the raindrops would become fatal. That would be my immediate.
Anybody who's ever been on a motorcycle without a face mask knows that to be true.
Don't have to get much above 200 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure that'd do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you joining us for this backstage conversation as we prepare for this week's episodes of Right Angle. We know that we could not do it without you, without your $9.95 a month in contributions that make it possible for us to do this thing we love that you find significant, so much so, not only that you fund it, but that you share it around the world. And we ask that you could continue to do that, recommend us to your friends, and let people know why it is that you think this enterprise is so important. For those of you who have not yet sort of waded out of the shallows of Right Angle into the depths of the entire BillWhittle.com complex, the ocean of Bill Whittle, there's actually a new show that we've done now 45 episodes of that's called Bill Whittle Now. You see what I did there? That's like called cross promotion. It's like a big, it's a marketing
smooth
thing.
Segue too.
I don't trust these newfangled innovations. I think we should stop doing this.
That's right. Well, for our final segue, I'd just like to say, for Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.